We're here with Congressman Steve Israel from New York, and we're going to ask him a couple of questions. Have you been to India? If not, do you plan to visit India?
Well, I've been to India several times, and quite honestly, it's one of my favorite places to go. It's one of my favorite places to go because of the inherent nature of the relationship between the United States and India, the world's largest democracy and the world's oldest democracy. And it is also one of my favorite places to go because my trips to India, particularly dealing with energy issues, have inspired me to affect U.S. policy on energy. And I'd like to give you one very specific example. I spend most of my time in Congress working on how we can reduce our dependence on foreign oil. And India is doing incredible work with respect to energy alternatives. And on one of my trips, I had the honor of meeting Dr. Pachauri, who runs the Energy Resources Institute in New Delhi. And I asked him what was really going to change the world, what was going to make a fundamental difference in the trajectory of the world with respect to global warming. And he looked at me and he said, "Congressman, that would be the 6 women of the Sundarbans." And I said, "Well, Dr. Pachauri, what is that?" And he said, "Well, you know, the Sundarbans is a remote delta region, no connectivity, no real infrastructure, fairly remote." And he said, "You know, they may not have connectivity or infrastructure, but they have a solar panel. And they have 6 women in the Sundarbans who use this solar panel to charge solar lanterns. And they use those lanterns to do the fundamental things that we have to do for better villages and a better world, to teach their kids how to read, because you need light in order to read, to keep their streets safe." And that really inspired me, that we can light an entire village with a solar panel and renting lanterns. And more than that, these women created a sustainable small business. They rent these solar lanterns throughout the village. So you've got all the elements you need. The empowerment of women, a sustainable small business model, and light. And I took that back and I wrote the law that now created in the State Department a Solar Villages Initiative, a $10 million fund that will help women in remote villages throughout the world light those villages and make this planet more sustainable and more secure. That never would have happened had I not visited India.
What do you think about the current state of the U.S.-India relationship? What more would you like to see happen in this relationship from a strategic point of view?
I think the relationship between the United States and India has vastly improved. India is one of our most important and valuable allies in the global war on terror. I think we can do more in terms of our cooperation on energy issues. And that's why I have co-sponsored with a Republican member of Congress the U.S.-India Renewable Energy Cooperation Act. India and the United States leading the world in democratic values, but we should also lead the world in entrepreneurship and innovation and new energy technologies. And so I sponsored legislation to strengthen the bilateral relationship between India and the United States in terms of those new clean technologies. And I'm hopeful that the Congress will pass it very soon.
Do you feel renewable energy is part of the U.S.-India strategic dialogue at this point? If not, should it be, and what do you feel is the best way to make it part of that dialogue?
Well, I think renewable energy has to be part of the strategic dialogue between the United States and India. It's a critical part of our defense posture. Right now in the United States, we have a senseless defense paradigm where we are borrowing money from China to fund a $650 billion defense budget, to buy oil from the Persian Gulf, to fuel our weapons systems, to protect us from China and the Persian Gulf. And that just isn't sustainable. And so what we need to do from a national security perspective is to make more investments in clean technologies and renewable technologies and alternatives to that oil. And that is something that I hope will be an increasing part of the relationship, the strategic and military relationship between the United States and India. It's not only good for our national security, it's good for our economic security. And that's why I think the United States and India should be leading the world in those directions.
What recommendations might you have for Indian American entrepreneurs in the field of renewable energy?
We are going through an economic crisis in the United States and in the world. And a major part of that crisis is that we are losing jobs that aren't going to come back. The world is losing manufacturing jobs that just aren't going to come back. Now, that is difficult to grasp, but we've been through this before. The world and our country has always gone through periods where legacy jobs are no longer going to be with us, and what we've always been able to do is replace them with a new generation of jobs. The next generation of jobs for the world, for the United States, and I would argue in India, are those clean tech jobs. And for entrepreneurs, both in the United States and India, that is an incredible field of economic growth and future prosperity. And we owe it to ourselves to build an economic partnership between the United States and India to pursue those markets. China invests $10 billion every month in energy efficiency and clean technologies and renewable energies. In Brazil, 8 out of every 10 cars are running on flex fuel chips. If China can do these things, if Brazil can do these things, if Germany and Spain can lead the world in solar energy, India and the United States can do these things and do them even better. And that's why this partnership is so vital.
Have you attended any Indian American local events in your congressional district?
I routinely have the privilege and the pleasure of attending Indian American events throughout my congressional district, throughout Long Island, and throughout New York. I value those opportunities to hear what the community has to say and to continue to build the partnership that I have with the community.
Finally, could you please give a brief message to your Indian American constituents?
Well, I want to thank my Indian American constituents for a very valuable partnership over the past 10 years. It is a partnership that has been productive. It has resulted in the Solar Villages Initiative. It has resulted in my introducing the U.S.-India Renewable Energy Cooperation Act. You know, partnerships that are just based on words are fine, but partnerships that produce action are even better. And the thing that I love most about my relationship with the Indian American community is that we produce action. And I'm looking forward to continuing to act.